Hi, I'm Norma and welcome to episode 9 of Norma's Designer Diaries. So it's been a while since I recorded a podcast and I'm so excited to be doing one today. I don't have much finished items, but I've got a lot of items that are works in progress. So I'll start with some admin stuff before I talk about everything that I've got right here. 2 weeks, no, not 2 weeks ago, beginning of October, I went on a trip to the United States. It was a personal trip, a relaxation one, and a much needed vacation, and it was really great. I got to relax. I didn't need very much. I took a number of projects, but I didn't do them. And I think the worst part that I'm about to mention right now is that I didn't visit any yarn shops. So, most probably because I was in a state that's very hot and doesn't really have a lot of yarn shops. There are some that are there, but where I was located, I was quite far from yarn shops, and so I didn't get a chance to go, and my itinerary was quite full, but I still ordered some yarn online, so I'll be sharing that with you soon. So it was great to take some personal time and totally disconnect from work, and that was the first time I've done that since I started this business, which was 11 years ago. So I've never really taken a full-on holiday without doing much work and disconnecting, so it was quite scary, but I loved it. I enjoyed it. Tempting as it was to start a test knit before I left, I didn't do it. So I didn't have any test knits because I think that's the one thing that really ties me to my work more than anything else. Mostly with pattern support questions, I respond to them on working hours during the week. I've done that for a while. But with test knitting, it's kind of hard for me to say I will switch off because testers are donating their time and their effort to make my patterns better. So I always feel bad when I have to say I'm disconnecting. Most people are free on weekends and they work during the week. So that's the time they have to sit down with my pattern and send their questions. And I try to respond on the same day so that someone can move forward with the project instead of being stuck. So that was one thing that I was still struggling with, and I felt like I had to be there 24/7 every day. So with the latest test that I ran this time around, I decided that right from the start on the test application form, I'll be upfront about only working Monday to Friday, so that if we need to extend the test, we can do that. That is fine with me. But from now onwards, I'll only be responding to test questions until 5 p.m. on Friday, and I'll resume on Monday at 9 a.m. So in that way, I think we're all clear right from the start before we do any test knit. And that has helped me a lot in terms of being able to switch off and disconnect. Because I remember 2 months ago, I had a number of tests going, and we were out with the kids. We had gone to the Museum of Illusions, and I was there and worrying about an email that I hadn't responded to. Not an email, a query that I hadn't responded to. So I realized that even my weekends are taken up by work responsibilities. And the thing with tests is that you now have to go back home, sit down with the pattern or with the written pattern. Sometimes you have to even look at the sample and understand the question and what you wrote, and the relationship with the question and everything else. So it's a bit tricky to disconnect. So it's my first time doing this, and it's kind of scary. I don't know how it's going to work out. But I'm now working on maybe adding a week to my test knits so that there's no pressure to work on every weekend like I used to do. And even if I do have to answer some queries on a weekend, maybe I can do that on the first weekend after the test begins, particularly if it's a sweater. But for the most part, I'm trying to totally cut that out and just work on weekdays and feel the obligation to check my emails only on weekdays without feeling like I'm letting everybody down. So that's one of the positives that came out of my holiday. I had time to think and figure out the direction that I wanted to take and the direction that was sustainable in the long run. So yeah, that's what I've decided to do. I hope it works out well for everybody. So you'll notice that sometimes the tests won't really appear to be too long. I've noticed in the 11 years of doing this that when you make a test too long, it somehow doesn't get finished. A lot of people drop out in the long run, and somehow it just doesn't work out as well as a much shorter test. So it shouldn't be like so short that you say people should finish a sweater in 4 weeks, but I'd rather have it maybe 6-7 weeks. But I've noticed that if I make it 2 months or longer, it just doesn't work out. I don't know if other designers have had a similar experience. I've had a couple saying the same thing, but it just doesn't work out so well to put a test knit that is too long. So I'd rather extend a deadline for a test than put it for a very long time. I'm always open to extending, and for the most part, when I put the test deadline, it doesn't mean that the pattern is launching immediately. Sometimes there'll still be a need for a photo shoot, a second revision from the tech editor, and finalizing the pattern and compiling everything. So it's not like if the test ends, say, 31st of October, then the pattern launches on the 1st or something. It could take a bit of some time in between. So that's what I'm doing with my test knits at the moment. Even if the test deadline may seem to be too close, there's always room to extend if people need that extension. I'm always open to that idea. So that's the housekeeping that I wanted to do before I start talking about everything that I've been working on. So I've been knitting some fall items and winter items, of course. And on my last video, I just spoke about everything I designed for the summer. So I didn't want to start talking about the fall or winter stuff, because for some people it was still summer and there was still about a month or so left. I have struggled particularly with social media and, well, everything that's happening currently, that, you know, whilst you're in one season, people are already pushing the next season as if this one is over. I still want to live in the moment. And I'm currently struggling with stuff that I'm seeing on my phone, the adverts of some Black Friday sales. And I'm like, it's still October, come on. So I didn't want to be part of that whole setup to start pushing fall and winter while it was still summer. So I put it on hold, and I just made sure that I spoke about only the summer stuff. And now that the season has changed, I can talk about the winter and the fall items. So first things first, I'll talk about my last launch. So I launched this pattern on the 2nd of October and I left on the 3rd. So I didn't get much time to talk about it because it's a silk shawl. So I figured it doesn't really fall into the winter items. So I might as well launch it before I start talking about all these things. So I have the Hluga crescent shawl. I don't know if you can see much of it, but I'll put in a photo. So this is a single skein shawl knit with Pearl Soho cattail silk, and the color is soot blue. I think they don't have this color anymore because I've had this yarn for a number of years now, I think 2 or 3 years. So I knit this on 4mm needles, just like this Hluga square shawl. So it's very drapey and it's a fingering weight, but the skeins are so huge. They're about 560 meters long, so it's a lot of yarn. I think if you're knitting this with a different yarn, you might need to have at least 1.5 skeins of yarn to get the same size. So I really love this, and I love the way that it drapes. Okay, I don't know if it will make some noise on the microphone, but let's try it. Okay, so it drapes beautifully and it stays in place. So I didn't want to start talking whilst it was there because it was going to make some noise. And the stitch pattern is very simple. It's these gutter ridges and an eyelet row, so you get to have something to look forward to. It was a fun one to knit, and it's going to be a fun one to wear because we're currently in spring and these come in handy. It's overcast today, so I can wear this as an accessory, and the weather is great. It's not cold. As you can see, I'm wearing something short-sleeved, but you can pull off a silk scarf like this in this weather. And the other thing is that I still haven't done a formal photo shoot because I had to book it for November. this is one of the most difficult colors to shoot. So I normally avoid these desaturated colors, and I once had a pink top that a shade that was so difficult to shoot as well. I had to do a black background just to make it pop. It was kind of scary to do. And then I've also learned to avoid some pastel colors because they are very difficult to shoot. So sometimes when you see us gravitating towards the grays and the browns, it's because they are much easier to shoot, to photograph, and to show off the pattern. So I'll show you what I've been working on. So one more thing that I need to mention before I start. So everything that I knit with Pearl Soho, the yarn is sponsored. I have mentioned that on previous videos, but just in case you're watching for the first time, all the yarn from Pearl Soho is sponsored. I do not pay for it, but everything else is the yarn that I buy, except for one other one that I'll talk about soon, which was a collaboration. Okay, so first things first. So this is some of the yarn that I bought on my trip. I only ordered online, and I had to limit the quantities, tempting as it was. I had to literally remove stuff from my cart because my bags were full. I ended up coming back home with 3 suitcases and a very heavy backpack. So most of the stuff was for the kids, unfortunately for me and my yarn. But yeah, this is the first one that I want you to see, the pattern that I'm working on. So I ordered this yarn online. I don't remember the shop. I think it's Wool and something. I'll include the name. I think it's Wool and Company or Wool and something. But I've ordered from them before when I bought some My Yak, Baby Yak lace. So yeah. So this color is number, no, this is not 5682. 5682 is the white one. So this is 5613, and on the website it's written tutu. So it's a very beautiful bright pink. I love this pink. So I'm knitting some lace socks. So I know there are people who live in very cold places and lace socks are not the most practical, but we have a reasonable winter where I can actually pull this off. And even on days when it's not too cold, I would like to wear my socks. So this is an ideal pattern for my winters, for my fall and part of the winter here. So this is the lace pattern. I don't know if it's really clear. And then the back part is stockinette. So it's going to be stockinette all the way to the end of the foot. And then the front part is going to be the lace pattern up to the toe. That's what I'm envisioning with this design. And it's got a tubular cast on, worked from the cuff down on 2.25 millimeter needles. So this is going to be one of the projects that I can be carrying around when I'm moving around, going on school runs and everything. So that's why I cast it on now. I'm not so sure. I think it will probably launch beginning of December. And then the next one, this is super exciting, is a shawl. So this is also some of the yarn that I ordered during my travels. Of course, I got the Zopapol Crazy, and this is Stone Washed. That's the color name. And then this is also another Cascade Heritage, and this one is 5682, I think. I'm now mixing them up, but it's the white one. It's not even the off-white or cream. It's like crispy, pure white. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but it's the white color. So what I wanted was to get this contrast. I didn't want the off-white. I wanted a crisp white, and I'll show you my sample just now. So this is how far I've gone. So the color has changed from a light blue to a navy blue, and there are some heathered, not heathered, what's that? It's not heathered. What, I've forgotten the name, where they are like 2 shades. Oh, mild, yeah. So there are some mild sections as well in the yarn. So I'm looking forward to working on all of them. So this is going to be a triangular shawl. I think I'll work to a certain length and then do the decreases. So it's going to be one big triangle. When I was looking for these colors and thinking about this, I was actually thinking about wearing this with a camel or brown coat crisp white shirt and black pants and just have this pop of blue, bringing in some color and some contrast to the whole outfit. So that's why I went for a crisp white yarn. I got 2 skeins. Oh, here's the other one, probably. Yeah, so it's 5, 6, 8, 2 hours, right? So I got 2 skeins just in case I might need both, because this is a lot of yardage. It's over 400 meters. So I didn't want to end up running out of this white yarn. So I got 2 of these, and I hope it's going to work out. So this is the Lirato shawl. I've got a Lirato top that I launched earlier this summer, and Lirato socks that I did, I think 2 years ago, as part of the Monday to Friday sock collection. So this is the Lirato shawl. I couldn't put this down. You know, I was working on this at 5 a.m. this morning. My sleeping patterns are still a mess, so I wake up too early, and I worked on this morning quite a bit. And then this was my travel project that I cast on just before leaving. So this is the other yarn I was talking about. I did a collaboration with Brooklyn Tweed. Was it last year or the year before? And they were launching this yarn. This is Imbue Sport, and the color is Wobbler. So these are some of the leftovers. I decided to knit something simple. So I'm working on this shawl and loving it. I still don't have a name for it yet, but it's a very simple and easy one. So it's 1x1 ribbing, and I don't know how big I want to make it, because I've got, this is 1 skein, I've got 2 more skeins. I think I'll make it bigger than a single skein shawl. I want something that's more full and cozy with this pattern. So my idea of some relaxing, simple, mindless knitting is ribbing and not stockinette. I've mentioned this before, that I do not enjoy knitting stockinette as much. I'd rather do ribbing, and because I flick with my right hand, so both knitting and purling kind of feel the same. It doesn't really take so much effort to purl as it does to knit. It's kind of the same when you flick. So it's not really that much of a train smash. Next item, so this one is, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it, because I'm just enjoying knitting it and growing it. So I'll see how far I'll take it. And I'm knitting the shawl on 3.75mm needles, and I think that's US size 5. Now the other item on my needles that has been such a joy to knit is the Mihlali pullover, and it's a colorwork pullover with the yoke being like simple plain increases, single color. Sorry, my needles are annoying. Let me see if I can tuck them in at the back. Okay, so the other colors are added once you sort of like right at the end of the yoke and getting into the body. So these colors are gonna go all the way down up to the hem. So initially I was thinking of doing the hem in this off-white color, but I'm kind of gravitating towards the ginger brown. Problem is, when I was planning this project, I planned it as a single working on it with the yarn just single, but now I'm working on it with the yarn held double. It kind of didn't really give me the same feel that I wanted when I had the yarn single. So I'm worried about running out. So once I finish this video, I'm going to put this on hold and do the sleeves first, so that I don't get to run out of these 2 colors. I've still got more of this, but I'll just need to do the sleeves first and see how far I can go for the rest of the body, so that I don't finish the body and then have to think back just to finish the sleeves. So I'll put this on hold, the body on hold, and work on the sleeves, I think over this weekend and Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, so the sleeves are also going to have the same motif up to the cuff. They're going to be straight sleeves, not exactly balloon sleeves, but they'll be straight, so that you don't mess around with the colorwork pattern. I wanted something that was going to be like a relaxed and comfortable fit. So this is knit with Pearl Soho linen quill. I've got one of the tags here for the linen quill. So it's 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. So it's got this toothiness to it, and that's exactly what I was looking for in this pattern. So you'll see later on in the season when I do 2 other colorwork projects, sometimes the other ideas that I have for the other projects are crisp yarn with very well defined edges and geometric motifs. But for this one, I wanted it to be kind of flowy and to meld together in a way, even though they are also kind of defined motifs, but I wanted them to meld together. And these are so easy to memorize. You don't even need to look at the charts at all. So what I was doing was just looking to see if I've got the same enough number of rows just by looking at these floats, and that's it. So it's very easy to memorize, easy to remember. So the colors I'm using on this one is I've got wheat flour, and then this light brown is peach stone, and the dark brown is ginger nut. Oh, ginger brown. No, not ginger nut, ginger brown. Yeah. So these are the colors. I love the look that nylon gives to the yarn. So you can work with any, I think, merino and nylon blend on this one. And even here we have quite a lot of yarns like that here in South Africa. I think Cowgirl Blues has some merino linen blend, and Miss Lamotte, and I think Naughty Habits and Yama Fiber Arts. So there's quite a number of yarns that have this blend, maybe not necessarily wool, alpaca and linen, but definitely merino wool and linen. I think you'll get a similar result. Next one, cables. So I love cables, of course, and I started working on this last year. Okay, another one that needs to be tucked in. These needles make so much noise when they scrape the table. So I started working on this last year, and I realized that no, was it late last year? Yeah, because early this year I realized I wasn't going to finish it, and it wasn't going to be ready for this winter. So I had to put it on hold and start the spring and summer items. So this is the back with the European shoulder construction and some cables, traveling cables and braids and everything, twisted stitches. So when I did these filler stitches here, initially I wanted to do, double moss stitch, and I was like, nah, that won't be exciting enough. So I decided to do this it's almost like waffle stitch, or it's tile stitch. I'm not sure of the name, but it turned out much better than my initial idea to work with double moss stitch. So I'm going to start testing this one beginning of this week. If you're interested, I'll include the link to my tester newsletter that I send out whenever there's a new test. And I also post my test knits on Instagram stories and sometimes on my feed, so you can access all the tests there. So I think I'll start 2 tests next week. It's going to be this cabled pull over and the Mihlali pull over. So yeah, that's the 2 items that I'll be testing. I'll try and finish the sleeves soon. So it looks kind of skinny, but it's because it hasn't been blocked. I steam blocked the body sometime back, so that's why it's kind of open, but the sleeves are still shrunken. I'll deal with them. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is this folded neckband. Twisted ribbing can be quite a challenge because it tends to try to lean in on the side instead of being straight. So I don't know what it's going to be like when it's blocked, but I noticed that when you're wearing the pull over, it doesn't really look bad, but it kind of tends to lean on the side. I was tempted to just do a regular 1x1 ribbing, but I really wanted to match these lines here, so that's why I stuck to the twisted ribbing for the neckband. So it's the half twisted rib, because it's knit one through the back loop and just purl one. You don't have to purl through the back loop. So this is the other project that's going to be coming out in December, as is the pullover and the Lirato. What's this? The Lirato shawl, yeah. And then coming in January, I've started this, but I think I'll put it on hold for a while because I need to finish the other items. So I've started the Zazi pullover. So I started this on my trip. When I left here, I just wound the yarn and everything else, and I had these needles with me. So these are interchangeable needles, and well, since I didn't have my work on the needles and then started, I just carried the cable separately, and I put this in my pencil case. I went through Heathrow in London and to the United States. I landed in Los Angeles, so I didn't have any issues even going that way and coming back home through security. I put these needles in my pencil case. I removed them from the cables and I put them in my pencil case, and I went through security here in South Africa and in Heathrow, and on my way back I flew out from Sky Harbour in Phoenix and through London as well. I went through some security check. I didn't have any problems with my needles. So I know in some areas there probably are problems, but I think because this was in my pencil case with my stationery, my pencils and pens, it didn't really raise any red flags. So just in case you're traveling, and these are wooden needles, I don't know if it would have been different if it was metal needles, but I didn't have any challenges with this. Yeah, so this is knit with what's the yarn? Pearl Soho knitting yarn, and the color is North Sea. So it's very interesting. It's almost like navy blue, but it's not exactly navy blue. It's got some other elements to it that makes it not totally navy blue. I can't tell what it is. So this is how it looks. So I've done quite a number of patterns. Okay, not quite a number, just 3. Yeah, that's a lot. So I've done the Zazi coat and the socks and the shawl. So now I'm doing the pullover. I love the stitch pattern, and I'll definitely do a hat or maybe a cowl. I'll see. I love it. I love cables, and I love ribbed cables. Like I mentioned earlier, I love ribbing. So a combination of ribbing and cables is just amazing for me. So another thing that I like, I didn't sew this on properly, so I have to redo it. But one thing that I like is that these line up so well. If you can take a look at this, these stitches line up so well. So it took a while to get this right when I was picking up the stitches, but it was worth it. And it's the same even at the back here. So when I was picking stitches, I wanted to make sure that these stitches line up nicely, and they do. So I'm happy with this. I actually wet blocked this because, you know, with ribbing it can be so deceiving. You're knitting and you're looking at it and it looks this tiny, and it's kind of worrying when you think about fit. So I decided to wet block before I even picked up stitches for the neckband. I wet blocked this piece, dried it up, tried it on, and only then did I continue knitting. I didn't want to knit something that's too small, even though I had swatched for this, but you know how it's like. Once you start working on something and thinking, okay, this is a much bigger piece, anything can go wrong. So I don't refrain from wet blocking. And I did the same thing last night with my Lirato. So if you'll notice, the darker color tones doesn't look as smooth as the one at the bottom because I wet blocked this. I was worried about curling, and I was thinking, what if this doesn't lay flat when it's blocked? So I wet blocked it overnight, and it was dry this morning, and I'm happy with how it looks. I wasn't going to keep knitting with all that uncertainty. I've learned my lessons so many times, and I try to make sure that I check and make sure that everything is fine than going too far and regretting it when I have to think back or frog a whole project. So yeah, this is the Zazi pullover, and it's going to launch in January. So I think I'll focus on these other projects first because they are launching much earlier. And then the last item that's on my needles for now is this. I don't think I've shown it here, but I've only posted it on Instagram. So this is the Lissetti blouse. This is also knit from Pearl Soho, and this one is Nai Fine. It's 100% cashmere, and it's the softest cashmere I've ever worked with, ever, and it doesn't peel. So far I've worked on it, steam blocked it, and there isn't any sign of peeling, which is amazing. I think the other one that doesn't peel, that probably didn't peel but has been discontinued, was the Mayak baby, not the baby Yakles, that's the one I used, or the baby cashmere. I only had one skein some time back, and I just swatched with it. I don't know what happened eventually, but that one didn't peel either. And then I used the baby yak lace, and it also doesn't peel on my Guguletu shirt. So it's nice to have that type of yarn that's kind of pricey and luxurious, not peeling. So this one doesn't peel as well so far. So it's raglan sleeves, so the body is just plain stockinette, and it's a V-neck. I'm trying to see what to do with the needles so they don't scrape the table. Okay, I've put them up at the back. And so this part worked out pretty fast on the yoke because of the sleeves. I think the sleeves bring it in so much interest, and they've got this diamond lace pattern, and they're also straight, and then there are decreases. Okay, there's just some certain decreases, and then you work on the cuff. The same will be done on the other side. I just wanted to do one sleeve to see how it's going to fit. And then what I'm going to do here, I've already picked up stitches for an I-cord edging, so you can see. So this is kind of done on the neckline, but I'm going to do a frill to give it that more feminine look. And if you are not interested in the frill, I think it will still look good on its own. I'll try and get some photos before adding the frill, so that you can get an idea of how it looks like without the frill. And then here in the center, there's this lace pattern. I think I don't remember the name of it, but it's there on the Barbara Walker lace patterns and on some other older lace pattern books. So I included this lace pattern here. And my main reason really for including this was so that when I'm picking up stitches for the frill, it just goes right here next to the lace pattern. Initially I thought of doing a single pearl or some 2 stitches of pearl stitches, and I was like, no, that won't be interesting enough. So I went for this lace pattern. So that's what I'm going to do. It's just going to have this frill all around, like going from the front and around like that. But that is an optional addition. I'll just finish up the body, do the second sleeve, take some photos so that you can see both options. So this one is also knit with yarn held double, by the way, because the yarn is very light. Even if it's held double, I'm still working on this on 3.75 millimeter needles, and I think it's at a fingering weight gauge really, because I think it's 24 stitches for 4 inches. And then the last item that I'll be casting on probably today or tomorrow, because I've already got 7 items on my needles, but this is going to be on hold for now. I've decided to change my schedule. When I got here, I kind of got myself a bit stressed out because I was thinking about everything that I had scheduled before, and this was supposed to launch in January, and there's no way I can be done and get the test done. So I've shifted it to March, and that way I've got more time to finish working on this. And then so what I need to cast on is something that I finished on my trip, and I shared some photos on Instagram, and it's currently being tested, and that's the Tobega hat. I don't have it here with me because when I finished that sample, my sister asked for it, so it's not even in the country. I have to work on another sample for photo shoots and for my social media stuff. So I'll be using this color instead. Initially I had used Sandpiper Brown, so I'll put the photo so you can see it. Now I'll be using this color. It's I ivory gray. So this is also Pearl Soho knitting yarn. So this yarn is going to be used for my birthday sweater. So every year on my birthday, I launch a sweater pattern that's knit in a stitch that I really enjoy working on and love, and it's knit with the kind of yarn that I love wearing. This is a very smooth heathered yarn that is also soft, which is quite a bargain really, because I love the look and the texture of the yarn, but at the same time it's not rough on the skin. So that's what I'm going to be knitting with this ivory gray yarn. It's going to be some cables and texture on the pattern, and I'll also use a bit of the yarn for the head as well, so that there's going to be enough for both. So even when I'm buying yarn here, I like buying corns. This is African Expressions, and this is Harmony. It's the one I used for the cable sweater that I showed earlier. So I love corns because I get to do some other projects after, and I don't have to worry about running out of yarn. So almost all my projects, if I can help it, I get corns. So this is going to be my birthday sweater that's launching February 24 next year, and I'll just wind up about 150 grams for the head. So yeah, that's just about everything that I'll be working on in the next few weeks. I'm trying to finish everything that's on my needles and start on some stuff. So on my last video, I had spoken about managing my time better, particularly with my summer knitting. Last year I had a lot of designs planned, a lot of yarn sourced, and I couldn't do even half of the items that I said I wanted to do. I started quite late because every time I've got to shift to the new season, I still try to finish items from the current season, and realize only later that I can't launch this on time anyway. So I'm being very careful. I had initially decided that from the 1st of December, I'll be casting on stuff for the next season. I'll start casting on the spring and summer items beginning of December, like 1st of December strictly. But because I took this trip and I kind of messed up with my scheduling, so my trip was 2 weeks, but I got home on the 18th of October. But the previous week has been totally unproductive. I was so exhausted. I literally hit the ground running when I arrived that side, and I was out and about every day, and my sleeping patterns were really messed up. I was only sleeping about 4 hours a night. So when I got home, I kind of crashed, and for the whole week I was sleeping weird hours. I spent almost the whole day sleeping and sleeping a few hours at night. It's taken a while to get back to normal. I'm still struggling with that, but my productivity has been really not what I thought it was going to be. So I'm thinking of maybe stealing about 2 weeks from December and finishing up the fall winter items, and only starting on the spring and summer items maybe towards the Christmas holidays, so I can just relax and just do the writing. But this cashmere top is probably going to launch with the spring items because it's not exactly a winter piece. So that's why I'm going to be putting it on hold for now. I can work on it in December and launch it in March. So that means I can start the test knitting shortly after New Year's Day. That's my intention with this one. And I'll just finish the rest that has to launch now. I have to be more organized really. So some of the yarn that I got, so I've shown you the other yarns that I bought, and then I got this. I only got the yarns that I can't find here in South Africa, by the way. So I got some Cascade 220 for a color work pullover, and I'm so looking forward to working on this one. If I could dump everything, I would, but I can't. So I'm so looking forward to this one. I got 2 colors. This is an off-white. I'm not sure of the name of the color because on the website there were color names, but here it's just numbers. So this one is, let me see, I think I saw the number earlier. Oh, it's 8010. And then the other color is, it's 1010. This is a medium to dark brown, and this is an off-white. So I'll be knitting a pullover with these 2. And I got some more sock yarn to knit some pairs of socks. I love bright, colorful socks, by the way. in case you haven't noticed. When it comes to my socks and my accessories like shawls, I like them bright and colorful, but sweaters and these larger projects, I prefer neutral colors. And then I also got some knitting for olive, merino, and the color copper for my buhlali hat. So when I was traveling, I took that hat with me because I get cold from the air conditioning in the planes, and I needed that hat. So when I got that side, my sister asked for it very nicely. I ended up giving her my hat. It's literally my favorite hat, and I gave it to her anyway. So I decided to get some yarn to knit another sample for myself. It's I designed and knit a lot of items. I've got about 220 patterns published right now, but that's one of the few items that I still want to go back to and knit in more colors and in different yarns, because it was such a joy to knit. So I knit that on fingering weight yarn, the initial project, on 2.75 millimeter needles. So I'm going to do the same with this one. I'll be knitting on 2.75 millimeter needles to get that fine stitch work that looks so well done. So that's what I like in the looks of my knits. I like the stitch work to look perfect and even. Okay, maybe not perfect, because perfect has got some negative connotations to it, but I want my stitches to really look well made and not just uneven tension or anything else. But I just like that smoothness and evenness on your stitches, so that it looks very neat and something I can wear anyway, literally. So that's what I'll be using. I've got another skein somewhere in my shelf. I think that will be enough for this project. So I only got one sweater quantity in some of these smaller skeins, and my luggage was still overweight. It was a bit chaotic even when we were leaving. So that's what I'll be knitting for now, and then I'll be jumping onto the summer and spring items beginning of December. So I have to really push hard on those projects and get them out of the way, because I still need to do my birthday sweater and this one here, the cascade one, and I've got another one that I'll be knitting with Harmony, African Expressions Harmony. It's also a geometric colorwork project, but the colorwork projects don't worry me so much. They somehow move much faster than the other projects. I don't know why. So I still have those 3 items to do. I now have to really sit down and do a lot of knitting and be very focused on finishing stuff, getting it off my needles and moving on to the next thing. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.